What's up, guys? Welcome to the podcast. Today, I've got my brother, Fred Casman, on the show. Fred's an entrepreneur. He's been running his business, MistlEliquid, for the past 15 years or 20 years or so, since he was 15. Is that right?
Yeah, 14, 15.
So Mist is a vape e-commerce store, and Fred was early to the game and did very well. But now he's got into vibe coding. He's one of the guys I respect most with regards to being able to build and ship apps with tools like Cursor and using various MCPs to do this really efficiently. So yeah, Fred, tell us a bit about yourself and how you got into AI and why you're into why you've got really into it recently.
Yeah, so like you said, I started a vape company when I was 14, unintentionally really. It was kind of hobby turned business. Um, E-commerce company, so I've always been working closely with developers to build custom plugins and functionalities for my store. So I kind of like picked up architecturally how like apps work, logically how they work. Um, and when AI came out, I think it was like COVID times, spending a lot of time working from home. I think it was just after lockdown that I discovered Chat GBT 3.5. My friend, I think it was Benny Carts, he
Oh
sent
yeah,
me a post, and
big shout out to Benny Carts.
shout out to Benny Carts. He sent me a blog post, and I couldn't believe it was written by AI. I was like, what the hell? Obviously, if I read it now, I could probably spot all the delve intos and spot it from a mile off. But back then, it was mind blowing. Um, So yeah, as a business owner, obviously you're obviously trying to automate and cut costs where you can and make things more efficient for your team. The first project I kind of thought was prime for automating with AI was product descriptions. We stock a lot of new products all the time, and not only is it incredibly boring to write product descriptions, it's also expensive to find niche specific writers. So I thought it would be a perfect use case to try and automate.
Yeah.
Um, so with AI, you usually get kind of like glimmers of hope, like, oh, it works pretty well, but this bit isn't working. And that tends to be it hallucinating. Um, so that led me down the path of not just using one-shot AI, but chaining various different scrapers or tools or APIs to get a desired result.
Mm.
Initially built that all with just like Google Sheets and Airtable. And then I thought, you know what, let's just try building an app out of this. At the same time, kind of like Cursor was coming out. Um, so hopped on it, fiddled around, and quite quickly I had a working kind of local website, which kind of blew my mind.
Awesome. Do you want to show
Yeah,
us ProductEasy, which is something you've been working on now? Then after that, we're going to jump into trying to vibe code something from scratch, and Fred will show us his process.
yeah, awesome. All right, I'll quickly share my screen. Um, so yeah, this website basically was completely vibe coded, bar about 4 hours of actual dev time helping me set up Stripe payments. So it has a full back end with Supabase. It's fully hosted on Vercel, and um, yeah, it works pretty much
So this is a
flawlessly
fully
for
working
now.
app that you built completely with Cursor, and you did it all on your own.
Yes, exactly.
Amazing,
All these cool little features, all the UI. It's got a fully fledged dashboard, and we are actually using this live for our own e-commerce company. So you can see here's some descriptions we've been working on for our website. But it's pretty simple. Basically, you set up your category rules to make sure that the AI doesn't go off piste, and then you can load it up with additional context like product user manual, YouTube videos, and then it will go ahead and learn everything it needs to learn about that product, find all of the features and specifications you set up in the categories, and then it will go ahead basically and code it. So all you need to do is pick a theme. So let's just say we want the modern theme, add the images, and you can basically copy this code. You can copy schema if you want SEO friendly as well. and dump this into your website, and it will be rendered nicely.
Cool. And all of the research is, you've created a system whereby everything's going to be accurate. You've created lots of checks and balances to make sure that that information about that product there is accurate.
Exactly. So behind the scenes is connected to an NAN, which basically goes through about, I think it's probably about a 30-step process to write the finished product copy and make sure that it's all accurate and correct.
Okay.
I don't know if we want to go into the NAN, but that's another tool I've been using a lot alongside AI to get these type of results.
Okay.
But I guess I'll go for another time.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. All right. So what are we going to build today?
So one thing I've been working on, which I can quickly show you, is so this is my vape website, and I was like, we need some.
We can only see the ProductEasy.
Sorry, let's go for this.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was like, let's see if we can use Cursor to build some calculators in the form of plugins that you can just embed into your WordPress site and have it render absolutely beautifully directly on your website. So this one's a fairly complicated one where you can say you want like a banana split e-liquid. Let's say you want it in 6 milligram. This is your starting base. These are the flavors you want to add: banana and let's just say cream. Say you want it to be extra creamy, so you're going to add 15%. Not adding any additives. And then you can basically say calculate recipe, and it tells you exactly how much of each ingredient you need to make your recipe.
Okay, awesome. And this was completely, again, vibe coded in Cursor, and then you built a WordPress plugin, right, to get it to display on your WordPress blog.
Yeah, exactly. So if we go, this is my WordPress. We go.
Okay.
So vape savings calculator. So this is basically something I uploaded into my WordPress. Yeah.
And that's a WordPress plugin, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Exactly.
And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to build a plugin for WordPress using Cursor.
Yeah. So
I'm interested in your process. Like, let's say today we're going to build a calculator for calculating how likely you are to burn out from building your own project, from vibe coding your own SaaS or something like that. And
yeah.
we want to build a calculator for WordPress, and then we want to install it on our WordPress blog. So
Okay.
we just want to know. I'm really interested to know your process from scratch. Like, what's the very first step that you do if you're planning on building a new plugin? Would you go to ChatGPT, or where do you start?
It changes every month because the AI models and the benchmarks keep flipping. Currently, what I'm doing is getting either O3 or Gemini 2.5 to build me basically a PRD and help me flesh out ideas. So I guess the process changes quite frequently depending on what benchmark model is the latest and most intelligent. But currently I'm using either O3 or Gemini 2.5.
Right. Yeah.
Gemini 2.5 is just so good because not only is it really cheap, it's also extremely powerful and intelligent.
Okay.
So burnout calculator, I guess the first thing I would do is flesh out what we actually want and make sure we're happy with the idea and the contents of the idea before we start getting onto the coding aspect of things. So I guess we want to build a burnout calculator, and it's basically going to take a set of typical like SaaS variables, like how many hours do you work? Are you building something alongside an existing job? Things like that, right? Is that what you're kind of thinking?
Yeah. Exactly.
So it's going to be a bit tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say.
Should we jump into? Well, I can't see your screen. Let's jump into Gemini and have a look. how you start.
Okay, let's go for it. You got me?
Yeah.
Awesome. So I guess we're going to say I want to build a WordPress, a burnout calculator for SaaS founders. It's a tongue-in-cheek idea for indie hackers who want to see their likeliness score, excuse the spelling, AI smart enough to know when things are spelt wrong, the likeliness score of your chances of burning out. Right now we just want to work on the idea and not the coding element.
Okay, so this first step is just getting it to tell you like what it should track, right? Like what metrics is it going to need the user to enter to calculate it?
Exactly. And if you already know that, obviously put in what you want it to be. But sometimes you have a vague idea, and speaking and interacting with the AI to like flesh it out can be extremely useful because it will suggest things that you're not thinking about. So like this is the brainstorming process. So we'll just see what it comes up with. We don't know if it's going to be good or bad, and most likely we'll need to iterate a little bit. But we'll go ahead and run that. So you can see it's cracking on, doing loads of different factors. I guess for the ease of building the calculator, we'll select what we think are the most important kind of metrics.
Yeah.
So they're going for a multiple choice quiz that assesses common founder behaviors, mindsets, situations, and culminating in a humorous burnout likeliness score and relatable diagnosis.
Yeah.
So catchy name, the SaaS founder burnout barometer. I like it.
Nice.
MRR, my risk of ruin score. The ramen profitability burnout index. Okay, category work intensity, category business. How often do you check MRR? Gets pretty good.
Nice. Okay, so I guess we keep it basic for this demo. Just pick like four of them or something.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to say let's keep it basic for this demo.
Yeah.
The most relevant questions and logic elements for the quiz to work.
And if you were doing this for your own calculator, you'd obviously prepare all this beforehand.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first calculator I built was quite intentional. I knew what I wanted, but because it worked so well, you can also say, I'm in this niche. Can you suggest me some calculators that my customers might find useful? And the AI ended up suggesting like lots of different calculators that I ended up building. Like for those of you who don't know about vaping, this might not make sense, but this one you'll probably understand while we wait for this to load. So this is just a basic vape savings calculator. So you put in your age, how many cigarettes you smoke, how much do you pay for cigarettes. And you can also do the same with roll-ups, but it changes the logic a little bit. So you can say you're 30, you smoke 20 cigarettes a day, and they cost £17.50. Let's do some, and then it will basically give you your savings. It comes up with a nice interactive graph. The logo here, and this is all just a plugin, so it's input via a shortcode. But we'll see how this all works in a minute. The other cool thing about the process that we'll go through is because it knows all of your calculator's logic, you can also get Cursor to write you the blog post. So all of this content is written based on the context of how the calculator works.
Cool.
Good. I also fed it our sitemap as well. So this section is all generated via cursor related guides. So let's see, core questions. Okay. Work intensity.
Okay, so it's going to
Okay,
ask
awesome.
how many hours do you work? Yeah, and self-care, mindset. Okay, cool.
And then each one is worth a point, and then depending on how many points you get, this is the logic. It will give you a score, basically.
So at the end of the
So-
calculator, the user's going to enter in all of their estimates, and then it's going to give you a score. Okay.
Right. So I'm going to go ahead and copy all of this. Copy Markdown.
Yeah.
Now that we've got a concept, go into cursor. So because I was building quite a few of these calculators, you can see the ones I just showed you here in my cursor project. I ended up building a WordPress plugin guide. So this works with this cursor folder. And I guess after this call, I'd happy to open source this and give it to your followers. So you can use it as kind of like a guide to build a plugin. This basically just contains like rules and errors I ran into along the way of building WordPress calculators. And then every time we ran into an error and then fixed it, I told it to update the plugin guide. So next time we build a plugin, it kind of just works.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do, yeah.
And with this, are these like the rules?
Yeah, so this is just the basic MD file. It could be set up as a cursor rule, but an MD file just works absolutely fine. You can see it referenced here in the chat.
What is an MD file, just for people who don't know?
It's just a markdown file.
Okay.
Yeah.
And these are instructions to cursor so that it doesn't make mistakes again and again and again.
Yeah, and how to set up a WordPress plugin properly, basically.
Okay. So you'll share this, and then anyone who wants to build a WordPress calculator can just copy that in, create a WordPress plugin guide file.
Exactly, yeah, and crack on.
Okay.
So we've got our idea now, and we'll see. So I have, get caps off. I will share you an idea for a WordPress plugin I would like to make. It is an interactive quiz letting SaaS founders and indie hackers how likely they are to burn out. Here's the idea. Let's proceed.
Okay, and you use the chat rather than the composer.
So Cursor's changed a little bit. This is Composer.
Okay.
And you can see there's ask mode, manual mode, and agent mode. I always use agent mode. Agent mode just lets it crack on by itself. You'll see in a minute. So if it needs to run a function call, it can do that. It's not just a one-to-one chat, message, answer, message, answer. It's more agentic in the sense that it can do multiple steps in one run. So we created the idea, we pasted it in. It's going to be working off this plugin guide to create this idea into an actual plugin. So let's go ahead and send it. So you can see Gemini's just reasoning away, basically.
And you've got it in the mode in which it will just create everything by itself. You won't have to accept it.
You can do that by setting up YOLO mode. I haven't set up YOLO mode for the time being. But yeah, if once you're happy with your markdown instructions and your cursor rules and you're doing a repeatable task and you know it works every time, you can just literally enable YOLO mode and you won't even need to accept any requests.
Okay. So now it's thought out how to build this app, and it's going to generate some files and start building them.
Exactly. So you can see it's already added the folder founder burnout quiz,
Okay. So it's creating a
right?
new folder, yeah.
And then it will crack on with doing the styles. Obviously, as well, you can, if you wanted it to match the style of your website, you can just take a screenshot of your existing website and say, put it in this style, or you can give it specific style guidelines as well.
Yeah. Nice.
So now it's building the quiz PHP. I'll just open this up so you can see what's going on. So we've got the CSS, we've got the JavaScript.
So it's creating it in JavaScript because that's what WordPress plugins are built in.
So it'll be HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, this plugin calculator.
Okay.
But yeah, so we'll do that, and then let's proceed. Has it done everything?
So what's it done so far? It's created a CSS file and a script.js file.
Yeah, so it's created the initial plugin structure. So the JS contains the main logic, and the JavaScript, the CSS contains the styles, and the .php file is a WordPress format that contains the logic and is needed for the actual plugin itself. So we'll say let's proceed.
So it said the next steps: package zip, Burnout quiz folder, install, upload, and activate the plugin in your WordPress. Okay. So it's pretty simple. It's not loads of files, right?
No, it's pretty simple. So what I'm going to do is say, because we want to test it before we upload it,
Yeah.
I'm going to say, can you create a .html test file for me to view it before we view it and test it before we upload it? Because we don't want to have to upload it to test it. We want to test it, edit it, then upload it. So what it's going to do is create a test quiz.html that uses the existing logic.
And that won't be a plugin, but it'll work in a web browser just as a standalone page.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I'm going to say, write me the command to run this .html file so I can test it locally.
Cool.
Yeah, so the calculator basically works. So this is, if you wanted to upload it now, this is how it would look on your WordPress site. I personally don't think this looks very good, but it works. I basically went ahead and let's choose the max scores on everything. So you can see high risk, code, red alert, right? So you're high risk of burnout. And then if we swap it to like number 1, so the lowest score, low risk, suspiciously calm, right?
Yeah.
So
cool.
I want this to be better. So what I'm going to do is capture the full page real quick.
Yeah.
Copy. We're going to go over to V0. And I'm going to say I'm not going to tell it anything. We just literally want it to build a better design for us. So we'll go back to this. We'll copy the screenshot. We'll say,
and that extension is called Awesome.
This UI is really bad. Yeah, we want to build it, or we want to style it like ATs. And then I guess we could have ATs. And then we could give it like, I don't know, do we like this style?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Okay.
Maybe give it one that is actually a website though.
Okay, let's give it this.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's crack on. So yeah, generally, like, the cool thing about getting it to build us a little test HTML file was we can do this iterative like process without having to upload it to the WordPress, see what it looks like, go back to cursor, iterate, upload to WordPress. So you want to kind of test it all locally before you upload it.
Okay.
Most of that loads. So I need to jog my memory on how we actually update that package plugin, create a zip file containing the entire file, make sure the zip structure looks like. Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, so we just basically zip it and then upload it as a plugin. And then, okay, and then we use the shortcode basically where we want it to appear. So it's
Okay.
super simple.
So you just write all the code and then put it in a zip file, and then that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Pretty straightforward.
And because VO is basically fine-tuned on design, it's an AI basically fine-tuned for design. We could have basically just gone straight into lovely, looks great.
Awesome.
Right. We could have just asked Gemini to do it, but Gemini isn't actually. It's okay at creating UIs, but VO is just so much better. Like Gemini would struggle
Yeah.
to build like this.
VO is really good. I used it a lot myself, and if you want to do anything design based, it's just way better than anything else out there right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know if it will be able to replicate this entirely um, because we're using just HTML and CSS, but let's try it. I'm just going to dump in. So we
So what did you do? What did you do there? You grabbed the CSS, which is basically the colors and the text files and all of that, right?
So I'm just going to give it everything. So I'm just going to literally, the context window of Gemini is so big that you can just dump it, everything. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to take this, I'm going to take, don't really need fonts, and we're going to give it this.
So you've given it the whole app that VO's built, and because you're using Gemini 2.5 Pro as the model in Cursor, which you can set right below where you're typing, you can actually give it a bunch of stuff because it's got a big context window, as in it can remember a huge amount of
Yeah,
things. Okay.
yeah.
So now it's reading those design files and trying to figure out how it can replicate it inside this in this
Yeah,
app, your app. Okay.
yeah, exactly.
Did you
Yeah,
tell it there to adapt this for your app in the prompt?
yeah. So I just said we want it to look more like this. Update the signs and make it look more like this, and keep it in HTML and CSS.
Okay.
So let's see what it does.
And you're forcing it to use basic HTML and CSS, no Tailwind or anything like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
saying we do need to get this font. I don't really know if we can get that. Let me just check. So this retro font, we're going to download that.
Okay.
I guess we can copy this. We'll do the font at the end. Let's just see. Okay, so now we'll do the font real quick. 2 secs. Where did this download to? Copy that. So I'm just pasting this font into the, and I'll copy this file path. I have added the font here. You still with me?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to see, okay. Now we're going to just do the test quiz again. Boom.
Awesome.
So let's just see if it's working. High risk, danger zone. It's working.
Okay, brilliant.
So now we just basically need to zip it up and upload it to the WordPress. So
now, just to refresh on what we've done here from the beginning. So firstly, it's really important that we use your MD file, which contains all of the rules for how to build a WordPress plugin. And you built that for, obviously, the first time you ever built one, you didn't have that. So how did you know what to put into that file?
So it built me the WordPress plugin fine, but there were errors. Like, for example, like the width of the plugins were breaking, like the CSS rules were breaking the CSS rules on the site that I was uploading it to. So just little things like that were annoying, that it was making mistakes on consistently, especially if you're like doing any project really, you just come across things that is consistently getting wrong. And that's a really good time to just say, every time you fix an error, put it in a rule file, so next time you don't do it again.
Okay, that's a hot tip.
Yeah, hot tip.
And how does it know to always read that every time you run a new prompt?
So you can either set up a cursor rule, which you do basically in Cursor you have like system prompts. Basically, these preferences get sent to the AI in all chats, composers, and control K sessions. There's loads of, you can put whatever you want in here, and there's libraries online for like specific tech stacks, or you can set up project specific rules. So that would be where I'd add something specifically that whenever I'm making a WordPress plugin, always use this rule.
Okay, but these general rules is just, you've just put something here that someone's recommended that you add to your cursor for everything as a general thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we'll share this as well in the description of the video, these rules.
Yeah, I can send you a link to where I got this from. But yeah, I can do a whole other video on setting up cursor rules and project rules correctly, and MCPs, which are really useful. This is like a intro crash course though. If you don't want to get into the weeds of it and you just want to have a simple set of rules and you can't be bothered to learn about project rules and stuff, creating just a simple MD file and then referencing it in all of your conversations is absolutely fine as well.
And do you have to reference it every time you do a new conversation?
Well, for this composer, I've just added it to the context, so I don't need to do it every time. But if I started a new chat, then I would just reference it and it would be there. And to reference, you just literally click and choose, or you can type in. So if I wanted to do this whole folder, I could just click that.
And that's always going to stay there in this, if you remain in this chat, because you've been in one chat the whole time, so all the context is kept.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's go back up to the instructions of what it told us to do next. Before we do that, actually, okay, I'm just going to say, it looks perfect. I'm just going to say, review the rules to make sure everything is correct. get it to do a final check, and then I need to find where this file is. So it'll be
So once you're happy with it in HTML and you think it looks good, you've tested it, it works, you can run this final check to check whether it's following your rules, both in the MD and your general rules you've set up in Cursor.
yeah.
And it's saying that, yes, this is actually fine, follows the rules, and now you're ready to package it up into a zip and upload it, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to go into the folder DIY calc. We can see it here.
Yeah.
And we're basically just going to add this all into, we're going to zip it basically.
Okay.
Press the zip file. Oh, I'm sorry, that's actually incorrect. So I'm going to get rid of that. So we're going to go into the actual folder,
Yeah.
and we're going to zip the contents inside of the folder.
Okay.
Compress to zip file. And then we're going to call it founder burnout. I'm pretty sure that's how I did it for the other ones. Yeah. So inside this founder burnout, we have a zip folder called founder burnout.
Okay.
Now, let me know if you can still see my screen.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to upload a plugin, choose file. Founder burnout, that's it. Hopefully this works.
So you just go to plugins, install new plugin, and then you upload your own plugin. Okay.
Yeah, and then we're going to activate it. Empty page cache. We should see it here somewhere. Where are we? Founder Burnout Quiz, an interactive quiz to help SaaS founders. Okay, so now all we need is the shortcode. So I'm going to say, what shortcode do we use to add it to a post? And there is sometimes errors here in the design. Hopefully there isn't, but if there is,
okay, so up above this is the founder burnout quiz.
Perfect. So hop back over here. We're going to go on to post.
So if you use WordPress, you should know about shortcodes, right?
Yeah, but the same principle applies for any CMS. Like if you were building a plugin for, I don't know, Ghost or something like that, they would have instructions for building plugins, and you can feed those docs into Gemini. You can get Gemini to make you a set of rules for building plugins for Ghost, and then you can just crack on.
Cool.
It's super easy, and yeah, so let's just see if that actually works.
Cool. So you've just published it on one of your blogs.
Exactly. So here it is. We now have a calculator on a WordPress site using custom fonts, custom designs without breaking any of the styles.
Wow. It looks brilliant.
And then what I'm going to do is we'll create a feature image for it. So we'll just take this, go on to we'll go on to this real quick.
So we're going on to the OpenAI playground, which is free to use.
Yeah. Well, this one won't be free, but we should have images. We should have. I'll do this. We'll just do it on the normal chat.
Yeah. So what are we doing now? Just to explain to everyone.
You might have to blur out all of my dodgy chat. So what we're doing now is basically we're creating an image for it. So you can see on like you can see here. I basically created all of these images with AI for the AI calculators that I made.
So you're creating an image for your blog post.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can take like a screenshot of your existing like thumbnails that you normally use, give that as context, and then we can also give it context of what the actual calculator looks like, and then just say I need a blog header image for my new blog post, which is a calculator for calculating founder burnout. I've also attached some styles for our other blog imagery we use. Yeah, so they've just launched this API as well, so expect some crazy stuff to get built because OpenAI's image gen is just ridiculous now.
Yeah.
So it's worth messing around with and playing with because yeah, the way you prompt it is also important. But let's see what it comes up with. And while we do that, we'll have a quick look if this actually works. So let's just say 8 several times a day, less than 5 hours, rarely stay in my lane. Boom.
Brilliant.
So we have a fun interactive calculator which you and your customers can use, can rank for SEO.
Very
And
cool.
another,
Very cool. And I mean, this was done like we've been on this call 53 minutes now, so it took you about half an hour really to build
yeah.
a WordPress plugin, which is pretty mind
Mhm.
blowing to be honest, and one that looks really cool.
Oh, one other thing before we finish we'll do is we'll create the actual content for this post as well, which I'll show you in just a sec.
Yeah.
So let's build this funny little image. I like it. Download that. We'll just go back onto the WordPress. We'll just do set featured image, upload, downloads. Just upload that on there. Okay, awesome. So we now have a featured image. Save draft. There we go. We'll look back at the resources section once we publish it. But yeah, that's just a quick way of making an image. And now what we're going to do is so we're going to say awesome, thank you. Now inside the folder, I would like you to write the blog post copy based in a new markdown folder. Include the shortcode at the very top of the post. And if you wanted to, you can also just paste in your sitemap and it'll pick like relevant related guides or whatever to do your internal links or create you a related guide section. Obviously, I'm a vape company, so I don't really have any related guides. So I'm not going to bother doing that, but that's super useful.
Yeah.
So,
And why does it need to be in a markdown folder?
so Markdown you can copy and paste directly into WordPress, and like the headers will render and convert from Markdown to HTML.
Okay. And you said create a new folder. Is that something you need to say?
Well, I said put it inside the folder, so it should be in here.
Okay.
Blog post copy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. Okay. So it's just adding it into a file. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't a folder. It's just a file. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll just copy all of that, right?
Yeah.
And we'll go onto here. We'll get rid of this because it's already added it. And we'll just paste all of that in. And then we'll say save draft. And then we'll preview it. There you have your calculator. Oh, apologies, that didn't render because it has the shortcode in. So go back into here. So for some reason, the shortcode breaks the markdown. So that's just one thing to note. So we'll just get rid of all of these. Sorry, I don't actually work inside WordPress that much. So apologies for my newbie slow deleting.
That's all right.
But this should convert the markdown into HTML. If we just go, maybe it's not working. But I guess we'll just change this for now into heading. There you go. Show template, preview new tab. If it doesn't work and doesn't render, there's another cool website that you can use that basically turns markdown into HTML, which is this site here. So you can just paste in your markdown, and then it will copy that, and then you can copy that into WordPress, and then it would render correctly.
Nice.
But yeah, so here we have blog posts. Obviously, you can edit the prompts of the blog post, and calculator, and image, all AI generated in probably do it in about half an hour.
Yeah, awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah. So yeah, the opportunities are endless. Get building.
Yeah, brilliant. All right, thank you, Fred. Appreciate your time.
No worries.
And like I said, any questions, leave it in the comments, and Fred will get back to you, or I'll get back to you. And we'll also leave the rules files in the description so you can download them and start building your own WordPress plugins. All right, that's it for today then.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot, Fred. Speak soon.